do you feel like the people you're surrounded by cause you to be better and improve, or do you feel like the person trying to get everyone to improve, right? So like, do you feel like the people that you're around, like, do they like cause you to be better, or they're pulling you up, or do you feel like you're pulling everyone up?
In what sense are we pulling up from?
So like, when you're around if you're around your friends, right? Like, do you feel like do they motivate you, or do they push you to be better, or do you feel like you're doing that for them?
Better, like as a human, like what are we getting better at?
Better as a human. Like, let's say, like, for example, I'm with a friend and like I talk to him and like I kind of, in a personal sense, and I say, hey buddy, like maybe you should start cutting and maybe you should start working out, stuff like that, like make
Cutting as in
improvement.
working out.
Yeah, like
Just
cutting
saying
as in
that.
like, well, yeah, like, you want to push him and motivate him
Not
to.
cutting like this.
No, come on,
Just
dude, come
no,
on. Like, yeah, like
like
losing
I'm just
weight.
saying,
Yeah.
like generally when someone says, "Oh, like start," are you cutting? Like that's not a good thing.
Oh, okay, I get it. My bad,
Just
my
like
bad.
how that sounds.
Yeah, like,
Not everyone's in the gym, Ray.
yeah, my bad. Well,
Oh man, are you cutting right now? That's awesome.
bro, he's cutting. Anyways, no, like like, do you feel like, man, this one's hard to say for me. Do you feel like you're pushing everyone to improve in their life, or like, do you feel like when you're around them that you want to improve because they're like farther ahead or something like that?
I don't think it has to be one or the other.
Or like,
I
or do
would.
you feel like you're just in the same boat with them?
I feel like if you're in one or the other, that's a negative thing.
Okay.
I think it needs to be both, right? Because like what you're talking about, producing and consuming, one is a production only and one's a consumption only, and you don't want to have only one of either, right?
Yeah.
Like if my friends aren't pushing me, then they're tearing me down,
Yeah.
and that's a bad thing,
Mhm.
right? But like that, because that would be the example where I'm the only one pushing them, and I don't
Mhm.
want that. I want them to
Mhm.
be pushing me too,
Mhm.
right? If everyone's pushing each other, then you get both,
Mhm.
right? Because they're pushing me, so they're bringing me up, but I'm
Mhm.
pushing them, so I'm bringing them up, right? But we're both pushing, right? If
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Like in different areas of our lives. Yeah. Oh, wait, so a better question would be, which one feels like more than the other
Hmm.
in your group?
I would say it depends on the group.
Okay.
So I went on Flatiron again
Mhm.
the second time in December. Those guys, I definitely feel like they're pushing me more than I'm pushing them because they're just studs. They're just epic people. Like probably in terms of like just the friend group in general, there's just three of us. Probably the hardest friend group I have, like straight up. Like these guys are awesome. Just absolute studs. And like for me to be the person pushing them the most would be very odd, and it would be uncharacteristic of them to like be having to need that from me.
Okay.
In a sense, like they're pushing me up just by being themselves. They're not like, I wouldn't say that they're coming to me like, hey man, let me help you with this.
Yeah.
It's very much
Just because of who they are and you're just
yeah.
around
It's
them.
like if
Yeah,
I want
that's
to
probably
hang
something I'd want to like gear the question towards.
like
Yeah.
if I want to hang out with them, I need to be at a certain level, right?
Yeah.
Just not like, oh man, you have to be this smart to hang out with us. It's not like that. It's more like, hey, let's go hike Flatiron.
Mhm.
I can't be a couch potato and go hang out with them at Flatiron. I just can't do that.
Mhm.
You know, so it's more of that type of thing. When I went up Humphreys the first time, they beat me up by like 10 minutes.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Whoa, that's crazy. 10 minutes.
Yeah, they were just like sitting up there. I mean, we took a big group. I was with another guy. There's like 6 of us, so there was like two.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So it's not like you were by yourself. While
no.
you were up there for 10
I mean,
minutes.
I was by myself for a little bit on that mountain. That was awesome, fantastic
Man.
experience. Because there's a point where we all get split up. We're just like grinding, trying to get down. That was the first time I went up. Kind of what got me addicted was that moment. But yeah, like with that group, it's very much I need to push myself because I enjoy their presence so much, and I like hanging out with them, and they like hanging out with me. I need to be at a certain level mentally, physically, just because the types of things that we like to do as a friend group require that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, Tanner, he was like, one summer, he was like, hey, you want to hike Humphreys in 2 weeks? I can't like prep for, that's not enough time to prep for Humphreys. I just have to be there,
Yeah.
you know? Like, that's the kind of stuff that we find fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to be at that point. I mean, like with Dario, it's very much we're both pushing each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's just such like he's so consistent.
Yeah.
Especially like emotionally, he's so emotionally consistent. It's something that
He really is.
I really strive to be emotionally consistent as he is. But it's like, I don't know, like maybe because like I'm never like, I used to be super just middle of the road, but now I'm either super high or super low.
That's interesting.
But like hanging out with him, it's really good just to catch up. Like I think a lot of things, because he's just so like just going straight ahead, that like I'll like bring some insight to things that like maybe he didn't feel like there needed to be in his life, and that helps him out. And then he'll bring like a stability to my life, right? And so I mean, there were some friends that I had that weren't bringing me up. Like I said, like it shouldn't have been that much stress and that much anxiety to just try and hang out with people in 2023, right? And I said that, you know, a lot of effort was put towards that, and that really shouldn't be the case. So those people aren't in my life anymore, just straight up. So it's interesting you'd ask that question, because this year specifically, I have very much tried to get back to that point. I was at that point at the end of high school, and then, you know, the friend group just disperses, and you do have to rebuild. That's just part of it.
Yeah.
And so I've really been working on rebuilding, like with purpose and intent this year, to the point where the only people I give my time to and give any time of day to are the people who are equally or almost as invested as me as I am in them.
Like, just they reciprocate.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's important. Okay.
How do you feel about that with your friend group or friend groups? Because I mean, I got like 6 different circles that don't overlap at all, so it's just a lot to keep track of.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
I don't have nowhere near as many like friend groups.
That's not to say like, oh, I have so many friends. It's just like I just do a lot of different things.
If you engage in a lot of activities, then you're gonna get to know the people who engage
in
that activity, right? Like a lot of people's friends nowadays are their coworkers, right? Because they don't go to college or whatnot, which is that's okay. Yeah,
nothing wrong with that. I would hope you're friends with your coworkers.
Yeah,
you know,
dude, totally. And well, for me, the way I feel about my friend group, now I feel good. Like the people at Young Adults, I feel good about them.
I remember you telling me that this year, like this past couple months, have been really productive. Very
enjoyable.
Where do you think that's coming from? Because I haven't been there, so I haven't been able to observe that.
It could be something about me that matured, like in my character and personality, perhaps, where because I've matured in a certain way, I was able to gain more joy, you know, from certain interactions. Like I used to have a hard time tolerating like silence, and now like that's something that I don't mind at all, because that's part of conversation is silence too. And
just not the greatest thing in a podcast.
Not in a podcast, but when you're just like talking to somebody, you know.
Yeah, dude, sitting with someone saying nothing is one of the best things.
There's something about it.
That's why I love hiking. You just all you hear is the of your feet on the ground.
Yep.
No one's saying anything. You're just there.
Yeah. And I think there's been a couple people at Young Adults that have been particularly like, you just feel that they're like just real people, you know. You feel that they're authentic, and somehow you're able to connect with them so well. Like one guy, his name's Daniel. And
Daniel Snyder.
Daniel Snyder is so cool.
The most consistent Instagrammer I know.
Well, I don't know.
Every Monday or every Sunday or Monday, he hits the same clip of it's a new week, baby. Like,
are you serious? He uploads those
single week
on
his story.
My goodness.
Every week, dude. It's a new week. Let's.
I had no idea,
Yeah,
dude.
man.
That is so
It's
freaking
awesome.
cool. Daniel's such a cool guy too, man. Like Daniel's is Daniel. You know, when you talk to him, he's Daniel.
Never had a bad interaction with the guy.
No,
I mean, I don't know him too personally,
no.
but
But sometimes he's a bit of a silent guy, and that's cool. And
that's really cool. People are afraid to be silent now.
exactly. Well,
I
that's
want
what
to
I
get.
was.
I want to
That's
get
what I was
super
saying.
philosophical. People are so afraid of this one thing. No,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I don't know. When I talk to him, when I'm around him, there's some sort of weird, fulfilling joy that I get from being around him. And same thing. There's another new guy. His name is Hunter, and I don't think you've met him because he's particularly new. But he's also like the same sort of concept where like he feels like he feels authentic. You know, he just when I'm around him, I talk to him like we just connect so well.
Are you able to pinpoint what makes these guys authentic?
It's hard to say really because I'm going off feeling and then I'd have to take the emotion and then try to break it down
Like a person,
yeah,
like a
right,
human, like the human experience.
yeah,
Yeah.
like that's rather difficult to do and I haven't done that lately. It's just I've just been enjoying it. And like Pablo too is really cool to hang out with, and same sort of thing with him. You know, like Pablo's Pablo, Hunter's Hunter, Daniel's Daniel, like these
Mhm.
guys, right? And
Without naming names,
okay.
what about the other people that you don't generally vibe with that much? What about them feels inauthentic?
Mm.
Without getting too specific, because sometimes it's hard to say why you like a movie, but you can always tell someone why you hate a movie.
Mm. When somebody doesn't say hello back, that's rather frustrating.
How does that go?
Hey, how's it going, man?
And they just look at you, or
Yeah.
what?
Or keep going, or barely acknowledge,
Do they just give you a head nod? Does that bother you?
or something like they just don't the
Like if you said,
the
"Hey, what's up, Ben?" and I give you like a hand, like
that
like that.
you're like Hail Hitler type.
Like,
No.
yeah, like if I gave you that, would that be a bad thing?
The concept like behind that is like not being reciprocal about it.
Okay.
Like just even like in like a small thing like hello, and then like you can blow it up. But when people just don't reciprocate back, like when you give something to somebody, right? Like you go out of your way to acknowledge that somebody's there,
Mm-hmm.
and that to acknowledge that like that person's name, and then like they don't reciprocate it back. It's like dang, like okay, why? Fine, that's cool, but and I don't really talk to or hang around that particular set of people because there's a couple people that tend to do that. I don't know if it's just me or if that's how the person is or whatnot, but that's just how it is.
Are you at the point where that is okay? Because clearly it bothers you to some extent, which is fine.
Yeah,
That's also okay to be bothered by that.
it bothers me, and then I just move on. Well, it's just like either that or I just stop saying hello,
Mm.
or I just stop giving. Right?
Yeah.
Like if somebody doesn't reciprocate, okay, fine. You decided to make that decision. I will draw back,
Mm-hmm.
and that's basically what I've done. And I think thinking about that now because we've talked about it, that's probably part of what contributed to an increase of joy that I've had at young adults.
Just spending your energy more efficiently.
Yeah, on people that reciprocate it.
Yeah. I mean, it also helps. Like a lot of those guys are new, so I mean that opportunity may not have been there previously.
Mm-hmm.
Also, and so
That's true. That's true. And of course, I mean Judah's awesome too.
of course, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like that goes to that. We don't even need to
Yeah,
mention
we
that.
don't-
We just know
didn't even have
that's
to
just
say
something
it.
that is and
Yeah.
forever will be.
It's a constant.
Yeah.
It's a constant.
Judah's epicness is like omniscient.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Another interesting thing to talk about is sometimes like you ever hang around a group of guys and then perhaps the conversation devolves into a bunch of like quips and sidebars and
Yeah.
jokes and
Mhm.
and then like that takes away the um the like the actual conversation. Like it just devolves into like a bunch of jokes and stuff, and people say things for the laugh. But you get what I'm saying?
I know what you're saying.
Takes away the word I was looking for was substance. It takes away the substance of the like the whole point of hanging out.
Yeah, I understand when that happens.
Yeah, like that happened recently, and then it's like I used to contribute to that, and now like I sort of sit back and
Just
watch.
takes the wind out of your sails.
Yeah.
You're just like, oh,
Yeah. Now I just sit back and watch, and then I think I could have done a better job in sort of steering the conversation into a more like, into a way that has more substance, you know?
mm-hmm.
But at that time, it was sort of hard to do. Which, you know, I'll probably get better at over time.
Like, like, I don't know. I want to say that I feel like I can say this because I'm this way too. But like, you're weird for wanting that deeper conversation. Weird as in like unordinary.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy about that.
You know what I mean?
It's a good
so,
thing.
like, not every conversation needs to be as meaningful. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just the interaction that counts. Because for some people, it is quantity over quantity or quality. If they see you a lot, that's how they build that. Like you and I, we don't see each other very often, but when we do, it's very meaningful, right?
Exactly.
And that's what we need as people. And for them, that might not be what they need, and that's part of like social compatibility.
It might be the opposite.
You know, like I know a couple people from that group who were that way. Like it's very much if they see you a lot, they feel like they're building that. And I'm just not really friends with them anymore because I haven't seen them. You know, and there's some people that you don't need that with, and those are the people you're socially compatible with. You know what I mean? Like Tanner, for example, he lives in Illinois, right? I see him twice a year, and we're still just as good as friends as we were in high school. You know what I mean? Cool. I would say even better friends than we were in high school.
Wow.
It's like we don't need, I don't know, we just don't need that constantness of interaction. But some people, they need that. You know, like for example, like I know some of our friends are in long distance conversations, relationships. I could never do that. I can't do that with not with someone who I'm that deeply invested in. I wouldn't be able to do that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
And so that's just like another thing of social compatibility. Like for them, that works. It works very well for some of them. And you know, for some people it doesn't. And you know, maybe that's fixed. I know some people had like people move closer, and that works. Now like it works a lot better than it did before in long distance. And so just like that social compatibility, it's like I don't know. I would be careful about like what you said, steering conversation. Like I don't want to be like, hey Ray, read the room. Like maybe they don't want that, but at the same time, it's like there's a time and place for meaningful conversation.
Yeah, I'm not trying to have it every time, but the sort of conversations where it's just a bunch of quips and stuff, like I don't mind like the quality and the quantity, right, of the quips versus meaningfulness and substance. To like, you know, like maybe it's more quippy than it is like talking about, hey, how's your day going, or talking about like an interesting event that happened or whatnot. And then like I don't mind it to be like that, but it being like all just quips, all jokes, and like all like sidebars and like zero substance, like that's a little extreme for me, for sure.
I think part of that is I don't want to be like, you know, from my point of view on this my mountain of knowledge, but like something that's helped me out with that, because that still bothers me immensely. I think you've seen me like do that a couple times. Like I literally say this, like, what are we doing here? You've heard that from me a couple times.
I've heard that from you.
Yeah, like what are we doing here? Like it really gets to me. It really bothers me. And something that that's something that I'm currently trying to work on is just being okay with that, because I think a lot of that comes from just taking L's, just understanding how to take L's. Not everything has to be a win. Not every conversation has to be a winning conversation of jubilance. Yeah, right.
That's true.
You know, like the having conversations that kind of suck in terms of meaningfulness and like what you perceive as meaningfulness, because for them, if they're laughing with their friends, that does so much for them. You know, for you, that might not do as much. For you, having these deep intellectual conversations is what helps you and your brain flourish with relationships. For them, it might be laughing and like sharing like high high energy types of conversation like that.
Mm-hmm.
For them, that's huge. For you, that might not be the case. And
I particularly enjoy those two for sure. It's just
would you say you enjoy that as much as a
No.
deeper? Yeah, exactly.
No.
It's just a preference, and it's like I just like I have to be okay with taking L's like that. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Like
Gotta be okay
I
with
hate
it.
taking L's, right?
Yeah.
But like L's exist because W's exist, right? Like
Exactly.
there has to be both.
There has to be both.
Like
yeah.
there can't be a good conversation without a poor conversation.
Yeah.
Because I would say that our first conversation, like out of the 3 Rays that are gonna be on this,
Oh my
this
gosh,
thing,
like the 3 totally different guys that
yeah,
spoke
that's
into
what
the
I'm
mic.
saying. Like the first conversation, I would honestly, if I'm being completely honest with you, is kind of
Go.
shit. It
Yeah.
kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's really bad. We talked for-
Garbage.
It's like 3.5 hours of nothing.
Yeah. Oh, that was on Discord, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my
gosh. The audio's awful. But then the second one we
forgot about
did
that.
was with this same setup, but I didn't have video yet, and so it
Yeah.
was a different thing.
I remember that. It was at my dad's office.
Yeah, that's a really funny conversation, but it's not good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like like what you're talking about with the friend group. It's like they might find that podcast hilarious and awesome, but
I thought that one was bad, honestly.
But we both think it sucks,
Yeah.
right? The same thing with the Daniel thing. Like everyone told me, oh, the Daniel one was so awesome. I was so funny, but like me and Daniel didn't talk about anything meaningful for those 2 hours. It was just shits and giggles for 2
Yeah.
hours. But I think like what we're talking about, like the greater goal is to capture that person and their vibe and what they mean, right, to other people. And that's kind of what Daniel is to a lot of people. And so I think I did succeed in that. If having a meaningless conversation in terms of like, obviously Daniel's not meaningless, but in terms of content, a meaningless conversation with Daniel, if that contributes to the goal of capturing him and his essence, then I'll have a million meaningless conversations with him. You know what I mean? Because that's the greater
meaningless
goal.
to you, but I mean,
No,
to the
not
goal.
meaningless to me in that sense. Like they're meaningful because of what they represent.
Yeah.
In the greater meaning of things.
That makes sense.
The content may be meaningless. I mean, we talked about him making a fake song for like 20 minutes. Like the song doesn't exist, right? So by like objectively, it is a meaningless conversation because it's about something that's not real. But it was meaningful because it was a conversation with Daniel, and that's something that he would do. That's totally characteristic of him to pull something like that.
The one I think I talked to him one time in my entire life, and it was like, I think it was after a film fest, and like he was at a table by himself, and I was there for some reason, and I like talked to him, and then he's like, "Hey, we should like race. We should like do a street race." Like I've done it before. We should do a street race, and I was like, "Dude, I have a truck, man. Like you're gonna kill me in a street race." It was something like that. It was like
That's
off
so
the cuff.
Daniel. Like
It was off the cuff, and
just
it was
like
just
sitting at a table, just like random. Yo, we should race right now. Like,
yeah. I was like, whoa, okay. Like and then I don't think I've talked to him ever again after that, because like I think it seemed like after that, when I was still going, it's like he disappeared.
Yeah,
he was gone.
we both disappeared.
Yeah, interesting.